In today's chilling story, we'll dive into one of the most twisted and disturbing cases in recent true crime history, the Slender Man Stabbings. This case, marked by violence and delusion, captivated the nation and sparked a global conversation about mental illness, internet culture, and the dangers of fantasy blurring with reality. The crime involved two young girls, Anissa Weier and Morgan Geyser, who believed that a mythical, internet-born figure named Slender Man compelled them to commit a horrific act: the stabbing of their friend, Peyton Lutner. This is the true story of how two 12-year-old girls fell under the spell of a fictional entity, leading to a brutal crime that shook the nation. But who is to blame for the violence? Was it the girls themselves, or the shadowy figure they thought was real? How does something like this happen in a small town? And what does it tell us about the power of the internet and our fragile grip on reality? It all started in the small town of Waukesha, Wisconsin, on the morning of May 31st, 2014. Three young girls, Peyton Lutner, Anissa Weier, and Morgan Geyser, were best friends, or at least, that's what everyone thought. They were in the 6th grade at Horning Middle School, part of the tight-knit community where everyone knew each other. But behind the closed doors of their friendship, something darker was brewing. Anissa and Morgan had become obsessed with a figure from the internet: the Slender Man. This tall, faceless, and horrifying entity is a creation of online urban legend, first appearing in 2009 as part of a meme on the Something Awful forums. Slender Man is depicted as a tall, thin figure with tentacle-like appendages, and his presence is often linked with stalking, abduction, and sometimes death. He has no face, only a smooth, featureless head. The legend quickly spread across social media and became a central figure in various online horror stories. Anissa and Morgan were consumed by the Slender Man myth. They read about him online, watched countless videos, and delved deeper into his twisted lore. They believed that Slender Man was real, and that he lived in the forests near their town. They also believed that he could grant them power, the kind of power that could help them, they thought, avoid his wrath. The girls became convinced that if they didn't commit a gruesome crime for Slender Man, he would come after them and their families. The idea to kill Peyton came from Anissa, who had been friends with her since elementary school. Anissa told Morgan that they needed to prove themselves to Slender Man, that the only way to gain his favor was through sacrifice. Morgan, despite her better instincts, became convinced that this was their only way to escape his wrath. Together, they planned the murder. On the morning of May 31st, 2014, the three girls met up to go for a walk in a local park. They were supposed to be having a sleepover, a fun day of childhood activities. But beneath the surface, something was terribly wrong. As the day went on, the girls made their way to a quiet, wooded area in the park, where they would carry out their plan. It was there that Anissa and Morgan pulled out knives, large, serrated blades, and began to stab Peyton repeatedly. The attack was brutal, leaving Peyton with 19 stab wounds to her arms, legs, and torso. As the horror unfolded, Peyton's screams echoed through the woods, but Anissa and Morgan showed no mercy. Their minds were consumed with the belief that they were doing this for Slender Man, that they were proving their loyalty to him. After the stabbing, the two girls calmly walked away from the scene, leaving their victim to die. They didn't call for help, nor did they seem to be in any rush to escape. They had done what they believed Slender Man wanted, and now they were confident they would be safe from his wrath. They walked to a nearby street, where they were eventually spotted by a passing cyclist who noticed they were covered in blood. The cyclist contacted the authorities. Peyton, miraculously, was still alive. Despite her horrific injuries, she managed to crawl out of the woods and flag down help. She was rushed to a nearby hospital, where doctors fought to save her life. It was a miracle she survived, given the severity of her wounds. As the authorities began investigating the scene, they quickly turned their attention to Anissa and Morgan. The girls were apprehended shortly after the stabbing, and they quickly confessed to the crime, detailing the reasons behind their actions. Their delusion that Slender Man had controlled them and that they had acted to prove their loyalty to him was chilling. The trial that followed was one of the most high-profile in recent memory. Anissa Weier and Morgan Geyser were both charged with attempted murder. However, their defense teams argued that they were not fully responsible for their actions due to their mental health. Both girls had long histories of mental health issues. Morgan, in particular, had been diagnosed with early-onset schizophrenia, a condition that caused her to have delusions and hallucinations. Anissa, on the other hand, had been struggling with depression and anxiety, and was heavily influenced by Morgan's belief in Slender Man. The case raised a number of difficult questions. How could two young girls, still in the early stages of adolescence, become so consumed by an internet myth that they would attempt to murder someone in cold blood? Was it the result of their mental illness, or was it something else? The prosecution argued that both girls knew what they were doing when they attacked Peyton. They had planned the murder in advance, and they had even tried to cover their tracks by walking away from the scene. The fact that they had left Peyton to die, rather than trying to help her, suggested a level of detachment and premeditation. Ultimately, both Anissa and Morgan were found guilty, though their sentences differed. Morgan Geyser was sentenced to 40 years to life in a psychiatric facility, where she would receive treatment for her schizophrenia. Anissa Weier, on the other hand, was sentenced to 25 years to life, also in a psychiatric institution. Both girls were committed to long-term care, and their cases have raised important questions about the nature of mental illness, the internet's impact on young minds, and the responsibility of parents and communities in preventing such tragedies. But the story doesn't end there. The Slender Man stabbings sparked a larger conversation about the dangers of internet culture, particularly for young people who are impressionable and vulnerable. In the years following the attack, the Slender Man legend became even more pervasive, leading to further discussions about how the internet can be a breeding ground for dangerous ideas and delusions. The case also brought attention to the role of mental health in criminal behavior. Could Morgan and Anissa have been saved from this fate if they had received earlier intervention and treatment for their mental health conditions? Could the internet, with its dark corners and unregulated content, have played a larger role in shaping their actions? The Slender Man stabbings remain a haunting reminder of the dangers that lurk online and the power of fantasy to manipulate and destroy. The case still raises difficult questions about how we can protect our children from the dark side of the internet and the growing influence of fictional characters on young minds. As for Peyton Lutner, she has shown incredible strength and resilience in the years since the attack. She survived her wounds and has worked hard to move forward with her life. She has become an advocate for mental health awareness, hoping to shed light on the issues that led to the tragedy. The Slender Man stabbings serve as a tragic reminder of how easily reality can blur with fantasy, especially when young minds are involved. It's a stark example of how the internet's dark corners can have deadly consequences. The case of Anissa Weier, Morgan Geyser, and Peyton Lutner is one that will continue to haunt us for years to come. Thank you for joining us on The Hidden Truth, True Crime Story. We hope this story has given you a deeper understanding of the tragedy that took place and the lessons we can all learn from it. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay safe, and remember that sometimes the darkest truths lie in the most unexpected places.